Then Shorts by John Muth. Mickey's nose is kind of poking my book from behind today. Okay. For Ballard Boric, the giant panda I have often found dancing on my porch. Michael, there is a bear outside, said Carl. A what? Called Michael. A bear! He's really big and he's in the backyard, said Carl. What is he doing? Michael asked. He is sitting. He has an umbrella, said Carl. An umbrella? Asked Michael. By the time the boys got outside, their sister Eddie was already talking with him. I'm sorry for arriving unannounced, said the bear. The wind carried my umbrella all the way from my backyard to your backyard. I thought I would retrieve it before it became a nuisance. He spoke with a slight panda accent. Michael introduced himself. Then Eddie introduced Carl because Carl was shy around bears he didn't know. And this is how Eddie, Michael, and Carl met Stillwater. The next day, Eddie went to have tea with Stillwater. Hello, Eddie said as she stepped inside. Come in, come in, a faraway voice called. Then she heard the voice say, Oh yes, come out, come out. Stillwater was in the backyard. He was in a tent. This is a birthday present for my Uncle Roy, Stillwater said. He always gives presents on his birthday to celebrate the day he was born. I like it so much that I'm not staying in my house right now. Stillwater invited Eddie to sit with him. You brought me some cake, said Stillwater. That was very nice of you. Is it your birthday? He asked. No, said Eddie. It's not mine either, said Stillwater. But let me give you a gift for my uncle's birthday. I will tell you a story. Uncle Ry and the Moon. My Uncle Ry lived alone in a small house up in the hills. How would Panda Stillwater tell this story? Maybe like this. My Uncle Ry lived alone in a small house up in the hills. He didn't know many things. He lived a simple life. One evening, he discovered he had a visitor. A robber had broken into the house and was rummaging through my uncle's few belongings. The robber didn't notice Uncle Ry, and when my uncle said, "Hello," the robber was so startled he almost fell down. My uncle smiled at the robber and shook his hand. Welcome, welcome! How nice of you to visit! The robber opened his mouth to speak, but he couldn't think of anything to say. Because Rai never lets anyone leave empty-handed, he looked around the tiny hut for a gift for the robber, but there was nothing to give. The robber began to back toward the door. He wanted to leave. At last, Uncle Roy knew what to do. He took off his only robe, which was old and tattered. Here, he said, please take this. It's hard to read the whole story with a panda accent. So the story continues. The robber thought my uncle was crazy. He took the robe, dashed out the door, and escaped into the night. My uncle sat and looked at the moon, its silvery light spilling over the mountains, making all things quietly beautiful. Poor man, lamented my uncle. All I had to give him was my tattered robe. If I only could have given him this wonderful moon. Your uncle sounds nice, said Eddie. I don't think I could have given away my only robe. I know how that is, said Stillwater. But there is always the moon. That was a good story, said Eddie. Thank you, said Stillwater. And this is good cake. Thanks, said Eddie. I made it myself. The next day, Michael went to see Stillwater. Here I am, Stillwater called from the tree. Can I come up? Asked Michael. If you are careful, said Stillwater. What if we could fly? Said Michael. We could cast shadows on clouds, said Stillwater. But what if we fell? Said Michael. If we fell, we might break something, said Stillwater. That would be bad, said Michael. Maybe, said Stillwater. Maybe? Asked Michael. Now comes next story. The Farmer's Luck. I would read it with my original voice because it's harder to read with the panda accent. Please let me know if you want this story, the whole story with the panda accent, then I can read it again. There was once an old farmer who had worked his crops for many years. One day, his horse ran away. Upon hearing the news, his neighbors came to visit. Such a bad luck, they said sympathetically. Maybe, the farmer replied. The next morning, the horse returned, bringing with it 2 other wild horses. Ooh, such a good luck, the neighbors exclaimed. Maybe, replied the farmer. The following day, his son tried to ride one of the untamed horses, was thrown off, and broke his leg. Again, the neighbors came to offer their sympathy on his misfortune. Such a bad luck, they said. Maybe, answered the farmer. The day after that, military officials came to the village to draft young men into the army to fight in a war. Seeing that the son's leg was broken, they passed him by. They passed him by. And the neighbors cried, "Such a good luck!" And what did the farmer say? Maybe. I get it, said Michael. Maybe good luck and maybe luck are or bad luck are all mixed up. So reading the sentence again to make it clear. So Michael said, maybe good luck and bad luck are all mixed up. You never know what will happen next. Yes, Stillwater agreed. You never know. The day after that, Carl went to visit Stillwater. Michael said I couldn't bring over our stuff to go swimming. I am mad at Michael. He's always telling me what to do, so I brought everything. Said Stillwater. It is a little pool. I don't know if all those things will fit. Let's see, Carl said. Let's see, said Stillwater. Stillwater looked at the pool. The things can go swimming, but we can't. Oh, I should have added a panda accent to this sentence. I'm making mistakes today, huh? The things can go swimming, but we can't, he said. I brought too much stuff, said Carl. That's okay, said Stillwater. I will help you carry it home later. Why does Michael always have to tell me what to do? Carl said. If he were here, I would climb up really high and I would jump on him like this. And I would do a big smash like this. Later, Carl and Stillwater had tea. Carl, said Stillwater, you spent the whole day being angry with Michael. Did you notice how much fun we had? Carl watched the steam rise from his cup. I'm sorry I brought all this stuff, Carl said. You don't need to be sorry, said Stillwater. Right now, you need to carry. Hold on tight, and I will tell you a story. Okay. Third and last story is here. Such good lessons. Listen carefully, my friends, and take this lesson very seriously. A heavy load. Two traveling monks reached a town where there was a young woman waiting to step out of her sedan chair. The rains had made deep puddles, and she couldn't step across without spoiling her silken robes. She stood there looking very cross and impatient. She was scolding her attendants. They had nowhere to place the packages they held for her, so they couldn't help her across the puddle. The younger monk noticed the woman, said nothing, and walked by. The older monk quickly picked her up and put her on his back, transported her across the water, and put her down on the other side. She didn't thank the older monk. she just shoved him out of the way and departed. As they continued on their way, the young monk was brooding and preoccupied. After several hours, unable to hold his silence, he spoke out. That woman back there was very selfish and rude, but you picked her up on your back and carried her. Then she didn't even thank you. I set the woman down hours ago, the older monk replied. Why are you still carrying her? Do you think you have carried it long enough? Asked Stillwater to Carl. Yes, said Carl. Good, said Stillwater. This is such a good lesson. And all the other stories. And this is how Eddie, Michael, Carl, and Stillwater became friends. And this is the end of the story, friends. I highly recommend this book. This is also a good bedtime storybook. But before your bedtime, you should not watch this video. Instead, get this book and read it with a parent. Then go to sleep. Enjoy your day, friends.